Hello, New Stoics. This is Tim, and this is today's Daily Stoic. I hope everybody's having a great day. We are getting back into the meditations of Marcus Aurelius. It is going over 11 and 12 of Book 2. So, if you can go into the description and either hit the ebook or just find the audiobook or just follow along with me reading, and we'll get right through this. Manage your actions, words, and thoughts accordingly, since you may at any moment quit life. And what great matters is the business of dying. If the gods are in being, you can suffer nothing, for they will do you no harm. And if they are not, or take no care of us mortals, why then a world with either gods or providence is not worth a man's while to live in. But in truth, the being of the gods and their concern in human affairs is beyond dispute, and they have put it entirely in a man's power not to fall into calamity properly so called. And if other misfortunes had been really evil, they would have provided against them too, and furnished man with capacity to avoid them. But how can that which cannot make the man worse make his life so? I can never be persuaded that the universal nature neglected these matters, through want of knowledge, or having that, yet lacked the power to prevent or correct the error, or that nature should commit such a fault, through want of power or skill, or to suffer things, really good or evil, to happen promiscuously to good and bad men. Now living and dying, honor and infamy, pleasure and pain, riches and poverty, all these things are the common allotment of the virtuous and vicious, because they have nothing intrinsically noble or base in their nature, and therefore, to speak properly, are neither good nor bad. Consider how quickly all things are dissolved and resolved, the bodies and substances themselves into the matter and substance of the world, and their memories into a general age and time. Consider too the objects of sense. Therefore, those that charm us with pleasure, frighten us with pain, and are most admired for empty reputation. The power of thought will show a man how insignificant, despicable, and paltry these things are, and how soon they wither and die. It will show him what those things are upon whose fancy and good word the being of fame depends. Also the nature of death, which, if once abstracted from the pomp and terror of the idea, will be found nothing more than pure natural action. Now he that dreads the course of nature is a very child. But this is not only the work of nature, but also profitable to her. Lastly, we should consider we are related to the deity, and in what part of our being, and in what condition of that part. So, as we could read from chapter 11, Marcus Aurelius is obviously old school Stoic. So we kind of get into the idea of gods and metaphysics, and how everything ties into everything else. Almost a little like Taoism, I would say. So he is discussing how everything comes from the deity, and I think in his own way he's referring to the logos, which some Stoics view as a god, or some view as like a permeating force, or just the nature of the universe, and how all things that we have come from the logos. And this is where Stoics disagree. Even Orthodox Stoics, they'll say rationality comes from the logos, the right way to live comes from the logos, and Marcus Aurelius kind of has his own view of that. So we're also kind of looking at the nature of virtue. So with Stoics, we do not really view ideas from pleasure and pain, or suffering, or anything can ever be tied to virtue, because virtue is kind of a I would he would say it was divine. I would say it's an artificial construct, but it's an idea rooted in rationality, and it can't come from just natural needs and urges. It has to come from a set principle outside of just our natural needs and urges. So our ideas of justice and courage and moderation and all these kind of things are sometimes contrary to our natural urges. And when we act virtuously, Marcus Aurelius would say that we are acting in the way of the divine, or of nature. So it's a little confusing, because most of the time whenever you hear nature, it's usually referring to materialistic ways. In these older writings, whenever you hear nature, it's usually talking about divine nature, or the logos, or it's talking about this permeating force. And I'm not sure if Marcus Aurelius was alive, he would still accept that, because Stoics were well-known scientists and logisticians, and they accepted most of the modern theories on science. And so I feel like if the Stoics were still around today, and I mean they are, but their ideas on metaphysics would be quite different, I would say. But that's just a couple chapters on the nature of virtue, and how Marcus Aurelius viewed nature and all these other ideas. And I think that's gonna kind of be it today. Just a quick video, and tomorrow we'll get into more meditations. And I believe on Friday, Saturday, I'm going to just go over what it means to meditate as a Stoic. And it's not the same kind of meditations as Taoist or Buddhist or Hindu meditation. It has some similarities, but they're a little different, and we're going to get into that. But I hope everybody's having a great day, and I will